And then me and Ned will go ahead and join the feature table. Let's head over there now.
Yep, looks like Lee Sin got the play. Going first. We're going to the Dreaming Tree and to the Windswept Hillock first. Both battlefields, I think, benefit both players.
Yeah, not too bad. Irelia doesn't feel too bad about going easier on the ganking game plan, but Kiana feeling decent. You know, deflect is a big key word in the game, as we saw previous in that round too. That Ornn doing a tremendous amount of impact throughout that game. But Irelia also has access to things like deflect with that Irelia Fervent, of course. But starting things off nice and easy with the stacked deck for now. She has 4 rooms, so it would be pretty ideal if she has something to follow things up. Something like a Stellarcorn Herder might be a picture perfect opening, or not opening, but turn 2 play for her.
Yeah, starting out with a Tide Turner, which is interesting in an Irelia deck. But getting those early captures, early points, maybe not to as fall behind, and as you said, a Stellarcorn Herder.
Yeah, kind of spoken into existence there. Irelia curving out the best she can, but Kiana, we don't get to see her too often. On the Conquer, you get the option to either draw one or to channel or Rune Exhausted. It looks like he values the card advantage early on, which sometimes we see it the other way around. In your opening couple turns, you value ramping up a bit early on since you already have a bit of available options, but the challenge coming down. Looks like Lee Sin off to a fantastic start. You got rid of the Tide Turner, you got rid of the Stellarcorn Herder, and you have a Kiana with a buff and base thanks to the Lee Sin Legend. We don't get to see this Lee Sin Legend power through any time, right? You pay 1 energy, exhaust me to buff a unit, any unit at that.
Yeah, Lee Sin, I think, understands that the long game is probably not into his benefit with how strong Irelia can get, opting to go for a more aggro start.
Yeah, we'll see if it pays off going forward as the Fervent comes down. Pretty much the best unit in these Irelia decks. You guys know, if you guys have been paying attention to anything of the Spiritforged meta, this is the card. This is the one card you want to protect the remaining of the game. And a card that enables you to protect the Queen like that will be the Guardian Angel. It looks like she went ahead and paid both power, 1 to equip and 1 to ready her. So it looks like she really wants to punish the Kiana for taking down 2 units. She's up to 7 might, so she might be able to do it. Unless, Ned, is there a world where Lee Sin is running a punch first, but decides not to risk it?
Yeah, I mean, pretty safe to say most orange decks that are creature focused are probably running punch first. It would have been pretty detrimental to play the punch first and recycle 2 orange and only having 4 to untap with, but the Irelia choosing to instead take over their Windswept Hillock. The Dreaming Tree.
Yeah, exactly. Over the Windswept, but I would have agreed with maybe pushing the Kiana, because what's the worst that can happen? You have a Guardian Angel, but granted, you don't want to just use your Guardian Angel so easily. And look at that, Ned. He does indeed have the punch first, going for the respectable 10 might for that. Do you have a hidden card like a Fight or Flight? And it is, but you're going to have to invest deflect unless it's on yourself for the +1 draw.
Nope. And it's just going to get defied away. Both players slugging down to only 3 runes. Irelia losing that Guardian's Angel. And Kiana this time choosing to channel the rune.
Yeah, it looks like she was getting a bit lower on that runage, so not too bad of plays. Of course, as we mentioned before, the Guardian Angel will be protecting going forward, but imagine, Ned, now that you invested the punch first, that +5 is for the remaining of the turn. Do you have another challenge? Oh, I almost thought that was going to be the challenge. A challenge would be destructive against Irelia, and I almost want to say that would have probably wrapped things up for the Way of Lee Sin, as they add another buff to one of their other units, the other one being the Clockwork, of course. But now this is risky territory, because Kiana, without any runes available, but still electing to go to the other side. Interesting. I would have tried to target down the Kiana, honestly.
And they might not feel comfortable or have much to buff, which would be rather surprising in an Irelia green. But choosing to instead just grab this one.
Yeah, just valuing the straightforward points, but you had to take advantage of taking down units when your opponent is completely tapped out, when your opponent can't take full advantage of those incredible cards like a punch first, and then perhaps just running a bit low on combat tricks of her own as the Ruin Runner hitting the board. We saw how much of a difference maker it was in that opening round 1. Let's see how Lee Sin is able to utilize it here in this round 3. As a nice little gank on over to get up to 5 points herself. We said the Windswept probably favors Irelia as well, and we're seeing it right here, right now as well.
Yes, and they still have the ability to send this treasure hunter somewhere to also get a gold gear exhausted.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too bad of an option, but you're simply going to be getting only a gear or a gold token for that, because that treasure hunter won't be sticking around too much longer, as the back line is will easily be able to take care of it, of course. I wouldn't even blame Irelia for just passing with a full grip of runes available, just to kind of keep the fear in Lee Sin. What does Irelia have? Is there a Defiant Dance? Is there a Discipline? And that's exactly what he decides to do. Just passes with 7 runes available.
7 runes to Lee Sin's 8, and Lee Sin also has even more full grip of cards, and we're going to see exactly what this Irelia is working with.
Yeah, you do have the option to go ahead and at reaction speed buff up your Irelia. If you only have 1 combat trick to increase your might, I would recommend it. If you have more, I mean, there's just so many good cards. A Ride the Wind would be a good target. A Defiant Dance is one of those targets that will allow you to take down the Ruin Runner. But I guess a Fight or Flight on your own Irelia doesn't feel all that bad. The only thing you have to be very considerate of is the Defy. We saw 1 Defy get used already. A Defy does counter every single one of those cards in hand, and it looks like the Lee Sin deciding on that Ride the Wind for now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, guess it doesn't. They don't want the Irelia to retreat, assuming they have to have some kind of pump spell for this untargetable camel.
You know, if there was a window of opportunity to get your Irelia back to base and back to safety, it was during that showdown. But instead, the camel going on the Windswept Hillock. Perhaps he doesn't have anything to bring that camel up, but the Trinity Force, okay, I see what's going down. He's going to make Irelia really fight for it. The Trinity Force plus the camel is that 1-2 combo we talked about before. You can't push him off the battlefield. You have to take him down with raw might. I mean, Irelia doesn't have the worst time taking down units with raw might, but we are talking about Irelia that's running rather short on hand size at the moment.
Yeah, running short on hand size, running short. We saw what was in hand. They didn't have any pumps besides the signature spell, so I think the Lee Sin just kind of feels confident they're going to be able to hold and score off of that Trinity Force.
Does manage to go up to 6 of cores. We do know the Fight or Flight's in hand, so you could Fight or Flight your Irelia, draw a card from the Dreaming Tree. Your Irelia returns back to base in a ready position. If you have the Defiant Dance as well. Wait a minute. You go up to 1, you go up to 5 because your turn. You go up to 6 for targeting it with Fight or Flight. Defiant Dance is 3 more on you, so you go up to 8 minus 2. There's some math here, Ned. There's definitely some math. There could be a world where Irelia can single-handedly take down that whole battlefield, as we do see the Defiant Dance come down.
But there's definitely some math.
Yeah, because the camel's at 7. Kiana's at 5 with the buff, so that alone is 12. Plus the 3 is 15. So that's the number Irelia is trying to look to get over. Right now, she's chilling at about 8 total might, as we said before. A Fight or Flight will bring her to 9. You push forward, you get one more combat trick. If you have one in hand like an on guard, you go up to 12. You could ready her with Irelia Legend. You go up to 13. You're still about
Well,
2 might short.
Well, and also don't forget they do have the Gust in hand, which at the moment I think can hit the Automatron.
It does have 3 might.
And could
right.
also, if they want to pay a deflect cost, they could target the Kiana.
With the Gus? No, it's 3 or less might, remember?
Right, but they just played Defiant Dance.
Oh, did they choose Kiana as
-2.
the target? I thought it was...
I'm assuming so.
Kiana has deflect, so I feel like it had to be the clockwork there. But we'll see. I mean, there's no -2, so perhaps it was a verbal agreement among these players. But there goes...
Kiana has 3 might when normally...
Oh, you're right. You're
4
right. There's
and
a
buff.
3 there. So yeah, it's at 5, but now it's at 3. So Kiana was the target. You're so right. And we know one of the cards of the 3 remaining in Irelia's hand is the Fighter Flight. And then there was nothing else that we remember, right? Because we saw the Defiant Dance. The Ride the Wind got taken off. Do you remember there was one more card in hand, perhaps?
Gust.
Gust, that's what it is. So 2 of the cards we know. One of them is a mysterious card, or a hidden card, you should say. Does attach the Guardian Angel. I think he's going on the game plan of Fighter Flighting back and then trying to push forward more than once. You have to have something to target it though. And oh, the unknown card was a Boots of Swiftness. So you go up to 11. I see what he can possibly do here. With the Guardian Angel, he could swing in 2 times. It really depends on what Lee Sin has, though, because another punch first, he has 2 body runes to make full use of that punch first. It might just be enough to get it done, but Irelia swinging in with 30 might plus the 1 from the Treasure Hunter. And let's see what's going to be invested. The punch first, number 2. The camel going up, and away on that might department, up to 12 total might. That's going to pose some problems for Irelia.
It is. They have 1 rune remaining, so they could be playing around a deflect with that Gust, because I still feel like you should just deflect away one of the 3 might units. So they're going to move that one back to base.
Yeah, and perhaps Gust the clockwork. He has to make sure he's paying... Wait. Was that just a... Oh, he was floating a room from punch first. That does make sense. So it does get the not so fast on the Kiana, allowing her to stay during this combat. You do, as you mentioned, that you do have access to the Gust, and I believe both the Kiana and... But wait. Are we paying close attention that they're paying the deflect costs? Because I don't think he paid the deflect cost for the Fighter Flight there.
I think he did.
Okay. And he's paying for it again.
Yeah, he sent a Calm rune to the bottom of the deck. But that's to hand. So now they're tapped out.
And perhaps we were over counting the Irelia because I thought she had enough might, but of course we are taking into account the punch first on the camel. So I think just with that was a 12 plus the 3, 15. So yeah, that does make sense. I think Irelia strictly had 14 total might on the swing, 13 plus the Treasure Hunter. So the clockwork does survive. And the Windswept Helllock, we said, how much work can this really do? That's at least a couple points strictly just from the Windswept alone. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from that battlefield. I think Lee Sin is one of those legends that probably utilize that battlefield the best. And whoa, an Ari alluring with the Triforce.
Ooh.
That's good. You go up to 10 points here.
Yeah, that is going to need to be dealt with.
And you know, Irelia just has a single card in hand. Is it the perfect card? A Defiant Dance might just be exactly what you need. That's 1. Did he draw it? Unbelievable, Ned. Off the
Wow.
top of the deck, the Defiant Dance. That's going to bring your Irelia up to 10 might. And then you bring down the might of Ari down to, I believe, just 2. Or make that 4 with the Trinity of Force, of course. But 4 plus 3, that's going to be 7 might. You're going to have more than enough. And I don't think there's 2. There's another punch first, as you already used 2. And Irelia, just like that, will be conquering both battlefields on her turn. What a close game. I feel like Lee Sin was inches away from taking it there.
I would agree. That was a lot closer than the field may have given away. But
And then opposite power, I've been seeing more and more Aurelias electing to go opposite power. And those that do, they tend to turn one sneaky deckhand.
yeah, I've just been seeing more and more people playing Obelisk of Power just kind of in general. In a couple decks I really wouldn't have imagined, but you know, I'm always down to get more runes.
Yeah, and so it looks like a lot of other people as well. But of course, pick rookie gonna be starting things off with a nice little 1 point so far. Irelia does have the option of going fervent, attach the boots, and ready, but those can be a bit of an ambitious amount of lines. You kind of end up overextending, especially in terms of rune. You use your runes up a little bit too early, so I don't expect those kind of plays to come out, but they are available to her as the Kiana does get established on the back line for Lee Sin. I'm curious though, will he lean towards the fervent? I think playing the fervent naked feels okay, but we did see the challenge in game 1 though, so that's a tricky option.
Yeah, with only 1 rune up, maybe more time just to develop your backboard. You have 6, so you could play the Irelia and equip the Boots of Swiftness to her. But
that's what we were saying. If you go ahead with that play line, you do effectively put yourself 1 turn back, but instead going for a more conservative play, going for the Stellarcorn Herder just does conserve some runes going forward. I like this play. I think this is proper play, especially when we take everything to account that Lee Sin, you're just at 2 points. You're probably going to get to 3 points this turn, but you're not that far behind because as a Irelia legend, you always have the ability to push the pace as soon as you get played out because of the Irelia chosen, or because of the legend ability, as we said, and you already have a gear to enable that. So as long as you try to maneuver your way around some of these punch first, as we saw in game number 1, you should be okay.
Yep. Now, just setting up, letting Lee Sin go up to 3, and then assuming they're hoping to just start drawing cards off the Stellarcorn, buffing them up. Tapping 6.
Whoa, that is a card we don't get to see too often. Do you know his name?
Udyr.
Udyr, yeah. I think he has 1 too many abilities. Let me go ahead and pull up this card.
Spend a buff. You could deal 2 to a battlefield, stun a unit, ready him, or give him ganking.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one deck that could run Udyr, it will be Lee Sin, as you're able to keep giving him buffs, things like Pit Rookie, things like your Legend ability. So as you said, it has 3 capabilities, right? Deal 2 to a unit out of battlefield, stun a unit out of, has 4. Wow, Ned. You also have the ability to ready me or give me ganking this turn. So this Udyr could be the unit Lee Sin needs to kind of close things out for this game number 2. But I feel like Irelia on a decent position as we're seeing the charm.
But the charm.
Completely punished the Lee Sin. Udyr did nothing this game.
You know, it was still good to see him though.
It was cool to see him. Unfortunately, he didn't get to see another turn. If he did, perhaps he could have done a little bit more, but the camel coming down, immediately getting the buff, so going up to 6, and now you don't have to worry about any kind of charm shenanigans because he is untargetable, of course. But little by little, Lee Sin started off to the races going up to 3 points to 0. And now it's actually Irelia getting the point advantage, retreating everything back for the time being. Because now that you're at even point tempo, you don't feel like you have to hold. You could simply conquer both. Hold if you need with some combat tricks now that you have a full amount of runes on your turn. So I like this position very much so for Irelia going forward.
Yeah, honestly, really, neither of them are in a bad position. Lee Sin with 9 runes and untargetable Cantmal. But like you just said, Aurelia's got 2 developed units, will be untapping with 9 runes themselves, and you know, Irelia is a very scary card.
It really is. It's probably one of the better green cards, as I said before. Very few cards can match the power level or the power capabilities coming out of that card, as it just gets out of hand. On guard, a defiant dance, a discipline, plus 9 might, and you're getting some value off some of the battlefield sometimes, plus some of the cards themselves. Like, what unit can do that? I don't think very much, but the camel does use the draw from the monastery, and then Lee Sin goes and returns the buff, so still will be defending for 6. And you know, for one time in this match, Lee Sin is matching the power draw from Irelia, feeling in control in that department, but has to get a bit more going. Is Trinity Force the card to hold things down? He more than likely has a punch first in hand, possibly even 2 punch first, because in all actuality, I think that's might just what is going to take to try to defend the best you can against both of these units.
Well, he'd only be able to play 1 punch first because he would need 4 body runes.
Very true, yeah.
But a Zonia's and a challenge. Ah.
And we were anticipating
just
it.
Gonna say no.
Didn't seem like it was too likely to resolve, as things like not so fast, things like Defy were most likely in the hand of Irelia. And we did see a Defy come down, but I don't like this position for Lee Sin. You're completely tapped out. You can't even defend with that monstrous punch first. So Irelia just seeing a bit more draw, gets the simple conquer, goes up to 5. But now you have to see what can you do to get over this camel, because I'm guessing 6 plus a 2. Yeah, he's exactly at 8 might. That is nothing for the Irelia Fervent.
It's not. That Guardian Angel will be put on there. It'll immediately take it to 8. Take it to 9.
1 for the turn 5, then 7, 8.
Yeah.
And then 1 for choosing. Yeah, 9 it is.
Yep.
And was that just 2?
Deckhand.
Yeah, for 2 energy, because I believe he was floating a rune from attaching the boots.
He was.
So yeah, as we said before, Irelia 100% in that driver's seat, despite the Lee Sin establishing the rune runner as soon as he could. It just doesn't seem like he has enough to try to defend, because Trinity Force, you're looking to defend, you're looking to deploy those punch first, but when you're tapped out in situations like this, you just make it rather straightforward for Irelia, for a legend like Irelia, to take full advantage of you and kind of set you back, because now Irelia has 5 runes to defend. As we said before, that could be on guard on the left, a defiant dance on the right, a discipline on top of that, and you can even hold up a defy at the worst. So there could be a world that Irelia could perhaps win in this very next turn. What are we thinking, Ned? Is this all but over for Lee Sin?
I mean, I don't want to call things over till they're over, but this is going to be a pretty uphill battle for Lee Sin to get. You have to get at least one of them off the battlefield.
Right. And you know, chat, you guys wanted Lee Sin. Give him all your energy for all the Lee Sin fans out there. He desperately needs it in this situation, because he's trying to find an out. He's trying to find a way of getting rid of both of these battlefields, because the Guardian Angel can indeed protect the Fervent. You hold one battlefield, and then the Fervent comes crashing back in on the next turn. So it looks like Lee Sin does go for that play. The Guardian Angel does save Irelia, but you do go up to 5, so not the worst. However, how are you dealing with the right side?
Well, you do have your Lee Sin champion that has Accelerate on it, which is 6. They currently only have 5 might at that battlefield. And if you buff it, other buffed units. So you could go to 7. 7, and you have 2 runes left up.
I think he's going for exactly that, but instead goes
Nope.
for the secondary Ruin Runner. He's just saying, you know what? I'll let you go up to 7, but I'm going to try really, really hard to not let you conquer for that final 8th point. I'm going to leave a single rune open for my punch first, but that's a little bit telegraphed because you know the simple fact that you're on point tempo, you have the advantage. What is stopping Irelia from just slamming everything on the Obelisk of Power and just holding before you hold to victory? I know you have Trinity Force, but you're only going up to 7, while Irelia goes up to 7. And then on another hold, you go up to 8 before you get to the 8th point as well.
Yeah, they may just be hoping for a top deck to help deal with the other side, but I like your line of just, all right, you can have the the Monastery of Hirana. I'm gonna hold the Obelisk of Power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because as we mentioned before, the worst that can happen for Lee Sin is you go up to 7 and you strictly only have a little bit, a little pit rookie in the back to deal with an Irelia sneaky deckhand and a Stellarcorn on top of whatever you can play out as well. Perhaps there's another sneaky deckhand. Maybe, and you know, any little might will add up to here because you could accelerate the Lee Sin. And you know, that could be a world where you could probably get it done if you don't invest in the other units onto the Obelisk. Lee Sin gives +2 might on buff units, right? So the pit rookie will be swinging in for 5. The Lee Sin swings it for 6. So you're effectively swinging in for 11. But he's going for it, Ned. He's going for it right here on the same turn. He says, enough is enough. I'm going to conquer both battlefields in the same turn.
On guarding. Moving the unit back to the battlefield.
And is that perfect enough? Because that's 6 plus the 8. That's going to be, what, 14 total might, but it looks like he's going to be investing a bit more because he has so many cards. Make that 7 cards, so I'm willing to bet he has more than that. So we'll ride the win just to bring in 2 more might from the other side of the battlefield. So swinging in for, I believe, 15 total might to the 14 currently on board. And Lee Sin is completely tapped out. So the sneaky deckhand will be the last remaining unit, aka Irelia takes this round number 3 in a 2-0 fashion. Well played to Irelia. Lee Sin, he almost had some kind of world where he was in it to win it. But we are talking about one of the best decks in Spiritforged currently, Irelia, so you can't feel too bad losing to that. Interesting decision, almost like a bit of a oxymoron, if you will, because you know you're trying to close out quick with a low lot of units, but you want to go late game. I wonder what that's about. What do you think about a battlefield like that for Sivir?
I'm unsure. I'm kind of in the same boat. Not really sure.
Yeah, and it looks like we're getting a bit of a visual bug. And by the way, Ned, are you in this game? Did I give you the code?
I did not get the code.
Here, I'll get you. Sorry about that.
I'm good.
I put it in the feature match now. Dude, join as the spectate.
Yep.
And every card that gets drawn off the top keeps spiraling for some reason, but it looks like they reset it knowing that there was a bit of a visual bug. And yeah, draw maniac, that was indeed some bit of a visual bug going on.
Yeah, maybe Aspirant's Climb was intended because they thought the field was going to have more aggressive decks, go fast decks, and I feel like Sivir's one of them, but not sure.
Yeah, perhaps just more time to get your sabotage, fizz sabotage, just completely diminish your opponent's hand On top of the fact that you can recycle your deck, so perhaps just more time writing your, because we saw one of Randy's strategy like that really gave him a bit of an edge was the fact that he was writing down every card that was being sent to the bottom. These miracle decks, especially a Sivir miracle deck, they tend to filter through the entirety of the deck, so much so that you could pretty much map out what you're going to draw after you drew your first time around the deck, right? You know what cards you put at the bottom. So perhaps Aspirant Climb kind of gives you the edge in the late game because you know what draws you're going to find. Unless there's something we're missing. Perhaps she has bigger units, you know those mind splitters or something of the like that takes advantage of going a bit later game. Because honestly, I think Irelia probably benefits a bit more than your Miracle Sivir on Aspirant Climb.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm confused, but I'm curious to see where it goes. And if this is game 3, this is maybe just the one that you only had as a counter pick. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you know, I'm right there with you. Perhaps they weren't expecting to play this one out, but you have to, you know, come into this tournament with some kind of game plan for all 3 battlefields. I'll go ahead and change the name for anyone confused. This is not the names that were up on the top. I'll change them for now. And it looks like Irelia will be starting us off with that Zonya's Hourglass, so not too bad. A good 3-drop for Sivir, looking like a seal. Maybe follow that up by something like the Ezreal Chosen Champion. Doesn't feel all that bad, and that is indeed. Does he have a scrap heap to make it even juicier, Ned? Okay.
Nope, just a sabotage, but getting a gold, a seal, and a unit, and 2. Pretty good turn 1.
Oh yeah, talk about a turn 1. Just, you know, the picture perfect idea with the scrap heap, but not too bad. You do have the sabotage, so things like Fizz come online, getting that sabotage back effectively for free with that gold already on the board. But looking to play a 4-cost unit. Most likely, okay, a Nocturne that was hit off the top, so it doesn't get to play effectively off the deck, but might as well get a 4/4 while you can, since that will be a unit to take down the Stellarcorn with Raw Might. I say that, but there's just too many combat tricks for Irelia to let that happen.
Yeah, and very noticeably not sending Ezreal out to conquer anything. I think wanting to protect him in base.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You want to prioritize that Ezreal survivability as long as possible, but this looks to be very similar to the Randy build we've seen before. The treasure trove gets played out. You go ahead and pay 1 to kill it. You get a rune back and you draw 1. So not the worst, because you did just play a seal, so effectively a net +1. And is that another Nocturne? What is 4 in the deck? It could be the Sivir Chosen Champion, but you don't accelerate it.
Yeah.
Oh, it is another Nocturne. Quite the unlucky hand for Sivir, drawing into every single one of the Nocturnes.
This is why I stopped playing Nocturne.
You know, when he hits though, right? He's the absolute best thing that ever happened to Riftbound. But in situations like this, it doesn't feel the best. But at the worst, as we mentioned, he's a decently strong unit. It's just in this circumstance. Okay, there goes the play we mentioned before. The Fizz into the sabotage. Reveal the hand for Irelia, and that is quite the hand. I'm already shaking seeing that hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the best choice to get rid of one of the Defiant Dances.
It just tells me that Stellarcorn Herder is going nowhere. A non-guard, a discipline, a Defiant Dance, and a Defy. I mean, how much better can it get? On top of the simple fact, there's already a Zonya's Hourglass already on the basic course. So yeah, I think that Stellarcorn feeling rather safe, but their treasure trove does get played out. I think it's a power. No, let me double check. Yeah, you pay a power and exhaust to kill one. So he would have to get one down.
Yeah, now the question for the Sivir player is do they want to send out the Nocturnes knowing full well that Irelia has enough to take him out and make him use the cards, but choosing to just pass instead.
You know, you can't get much better than this for an Irelia player. A Stellarcorn Herder with Boots of Swiftness going back and forth, 2 turns in a row. That's a 4-point conquer push from the Stellarcorn Herder alone. And each and every move, that's a +1 draw. So 4 points, 2 draws, maybe even 3 draws, something of the like. But this is just so much resource advantage coming out of Irelia, which you don't feel bad passing the turn with 9 total runes available. We've seen what's in hand. There's very little Sivir can do. You can go as wide as you want, but Irelia will be able to go as tall as she wants as you're sitting pretty on the Dreaming Tree, allowing her to get even an additional draw on top of that. So she feels decently safe, but Sivir is starting to establish quite the board presence. So there will be a world where Sivir could kind of send in everything, but then perhaps you're overcommitting to a single battlefield. So I love Aurelia's position. For Sivir, it looks like you have to do a whole lot of thinking to take down this Irelia puzzle, because right now you are behind by 5 points. That is a big deficit.
It is, and they're going to choose to just go wide, develop the board, play out their Sivir, play out some seals. Like you said, there's 8 cards in the Aurelia's hand. We know a lot of them, if not all but 2.
I think so, something like that. And here we go. We said it. There's going to be a point where going wide is a bit stronger than going tall, or at the very least, you're going to have Aurelia's going to have to invest so many cards. At one point, you're saying these cards aren't worth it. I'll take the L on my Stellarcorn, let her go to the trash, and now Sivir stuck with just a single battlefield is rather tough. Actually, there's double ganking. I misspoke. Double ganking from Nocturne, so it doesn't feel too bad. Perhaps you just invest perfectly enough on the Stellarcorn Herder to get up to 8. That way you take down both of these Nocturnes, not letting them easily get to Aspirant Climb. I kind of like this play, but if you have enough combat tricks and if you're able to take down each of these units, that might be a win in itself.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you just pump the Stellarcorn until you can kill the most amount of things. Currently at 9, which gets rid of only 2 things.
Yeah, only 2 things as it stands, but with the called shot allowing her to pick up 2 more cards, we saw there's at least a Defiant Dance in hand. We didn't get to see the On Guard deployed out just yet, so at least 2 more combat tricks. If she wants to go ahead and invest most of her combat tricks in hand, I think it's a worthwhile investment. If there's a world you're able to take down 5 units in a single turn, that's you can't ask for too much better than that. The only caveat being if Sivir has a might buff of her own, something like a punch first to save. I mean, if she saves 1 unit, you don't feel that bad. You still got rid of 4 units, and at the minimum, you still have your Boots of Swiftness to attach to the Fervent on your clapback turn.
And Fight or Flight, is it going to target something of theirs, or are you going to try and save the Stellarcorn?
I think since you're already so deep on pumping the Stellarcorn game plan, you have to push back one of your opponent's units as you're saying that. So let's redo the math. There's 8 plus the 3, so 11 plus the other 3, so 14 total might pushing forward on the Dreaming Tree. Stellarcorn is defending for, as we stated, 9 total might. So Defiant Dance brings you up to 11. And I think this is the perfect card needed to equalize the situation. Or I think you win up by 1 might.
Yeah, because they're going to go down from 14 to 12. And she's going to go up to 11.
Oh, yeah. You're as the other way around. Stellarcorn is off by a single might. I guess you have to do what you have to do. The On Guard coming in clutch, perhaps. I'm a bit worried that Sivir does have a punch first, but it might be worthwhile. because that's still a lot of resources coming out of both sides. And Irelia still has the card advantage, period. So I think an on guard kind of force out the punch first. That way you don't have to worry about it on your fervent push. Still seems decent here.
I would agree. You're already trading a lot of cards both ways. The only issue with the punch first is that all it's going to do is trade for the Zonias. So you could have kept an Ezreal, you could have kept a Nocturne, but I don't really think either one of those is particularly needed, as you already have an Ezreal in base. Nocturnes aren't really the best units.
Yeah, I think that was fair enough there, because the Zonya's Hourglass keeping the Stellar Corn safe for the next turn. Going up to 6, you're feeling very confident in your position, especially as we said before, the Fervent still looming in that chosen champion zone, but the fight, the ride, the win coming in, trying to bring it to the other side. On top of the draw power coming from the Stellar Corn, I don't think I've ever seen a Stellar Corn herder draw as much cards as we've seen in this game 3 of this round 3. Fight or Flight might even get another draw on top of that, but most likely going to be targeting his own unit, because that's too much card advantage coming out for Irelia. And Fizz going save, but that means Irelia up to 7 points. Do you just simply retreat, play out the Fervent, and hope for the best the next turn?
I think so. Like, I have to imagine with a grip of 11 cards, you're going to untap to 10 runes. If you don't recycle any on Sivir's turn, that's yep, and that was called.
That is a GG. And wait a minute, Ned, are they setting up for a game 3? Whoa. What's going on? So now it's 1-1. Oh, they got 10 minutes to finish out an entire game. Wait. Actually, it was over. I was gonna say they didn't win just yet because of Aspirin Climb, but it was 1-7, so it was definitely over.
Yeah. And now we see the pace potentially picking up a bit here.
Yeah, understanding there's just 10 minutes left in the round. Granted, there's about 3 turns of overtime. You know, active player is 0, so 3 turns after that according to the regional rules or the tournament rules in general. So there could be a world this game 3 finishes if they're a little bit more if they play a bit faster than they have. I mean, they're not necessarily playing slow by any means, but to get a whole game 3 accomplished in this short time frame might be a bit of a feat, but not impossible. I've seen it before.
Yeah, and Sivir being very greedy with their first turn. Recycling a purple to get a gold and play Called Shot, and originally playing a Seal of Discord. I think they're going back on that.
Yeah, a little takesy backsies. Oh man, then the arch nemesis of the Sivir, the Stellar Corn Herder, coming out to play one more time in this game number 3. You know, it's so easy to take it down sometimes, and then other times it's impossible to take it down. You bring out your chosen champ, but you don't have access to something like a challenge just yet. And perhaps if there's something like a Zonia's or a Guardian Angel is going to be playing out next, that Stellar Corn could be sticking around as long as we saw in the previous game. But Stellar Corn looks to be the unit to get the first point on the board. And it looks like I forgot to reset. Let me reset the points here. And make that 2 points, Ned. Off to the races one more time with that Stellar Corn.
Yeah. Stellar Corn proving why they're one of the best uncommons. Yeah, uncommons in the set.
Yeah, honestly, you can't ask much more from a unit. And to make it even sweeter, the Siren coming down, pay 1 energy, get another card on top of keeping your unit safe. These are brilliant plays coming out from Irelia. Just seems to have everything available to her, everything to make those game plans work for you and in your favor. Irelia in a strong position. Let's see how Sivir tries to mitigate this kind of advantage Irelia has mounted so far.
Yep, playing the Ezreal, discarding Scrap Heap to draw 3. Now playing a Called Shot, recycling and generating gold off of Sivir's Legend ability. So both players really looking through their deck, and actually Sivir's seen more of her deck than the Irelia has so far,
Mm-hmm.
which is the power of that Ezreal called shot package.
And no matter what she does, Sivir doesn't feel perfectly safe pushing into either battlefield, which is exactly what I was thinking as well. Why risk it? Because you're just going to be losing your unit. But at one point, you do have to put points on the table. You have to take that necessary sacrifice. But it looks like Sivir not prepared for the sacrifice just yet. Wants to find a more opportune situation to kind of progress the game state. So let's see. Perhaps when you're completely tapped out isn't the situation to push it forward, but now it leaves that wiggle room for Irelia to keep on pushing forward with those points. One conquer, and it looks like he's going to be able to use Irelia Legend ability to get the 4th point. Round and round that Stellar Corn Herder goes.
And then using the boat to bring it back.
Man, that is 3 draws per turn. You drew 1 per turn. You drew 3 off the Stellar Corn Herder. This might just be a record for the most amount of cards drawn this early on in a game.
It's rather impressive.
Mm-hmm. It really is. She's playing it beautifully.
Trying to stack the deck here, see if we can find something to bring us back into this.
I think your best bet has to be something like a challenge. If you can find a challenge at the top, or more importantly, you need a sabotage first, get the not so fast out of the hand, and then challenge. But you only have 2 body runes. Of course, you have the gold, so technically 3 body runes essentially. And now Sivir finally putting some points on the board, going up to her first point. But you need to take down that Stellar Corn. She is getting completely out of hand. Talk about 10 cards in hand, perhaps even 2 more after this turn ends. After this goes back to her turn, of course. But let's see, does she decide to finally push forward with the Sivir champ, get up to 2 points, and perhaps leave behind? And is there going to be a sabotage? Actually, I think that was the previous game. It looks like it's just a called shot in the trash.
Yep, call shot in the trash. And ooh, a Nocturne. This is when it feels great.
Right, this is where it feels worth it, getting a bit of a lucky hit off the top with the call shot. I say lucky, but when you're digging through 4 cards of your remaining, 18 cards in the deck, it's some pretty good odds. Depends on how many you have in hand, of course. But now you're putting up quite a defensive front. I'm wondering though, Ned, do you think he has something like a punch first in that 8-card hand?
I mean, you've gone through half your deck. And if you're playing 3, the stats are very likely.
Right. I couldn't agree more. I think he definitely does. And to make it even better, even of a stronger defensive hold, that hidden card coming in could be something like a fight or flight. Doesn't feel the best pushing back a Stellar Corner, of course. But I can't really think of another card that would likely be hidden there.
I also want to point out that Irelia has 23 cards left in deck. Only 2 of them are in their discard pile.
Wow. Yeah, this is what we call just a book in hand, having so many available options. You know, sometimes when you have so many cards in hand, you don't even know what's the most optimal play to do because you have too many options. But I think Irelia is going to get it together. And to make it even better, you still have your Fervent Champion. You've done all the heavy lifting with your Stellar Corn Herder. Whenever she passes away, sometime sooner than later, Sivir hopes for. Let's see what goes down. The Defiant Dance looking to do the same thing they've been doing this entire game. Ready the Stellar Corn, gank on over to the other battlefield. Perhaps they're just trying to dwindle down the Zomwarns, reveal the Hidden Blade, get the ganking boots back in base, and then get the Fervent to equip the boots and send in the Fervent. I could see a world where that might work out, but let's see what they're thinking so far.
Yeah, because at the Warren's battlefield, there's only 2, 5, 7 might there.
Yeah, not too much. It looks very approachable, especially considering when we have a on guard coming down, bring that Stellar Corn up to 9 total might, forcing the hand of Sivir saying, what do you have on that hidden card? And there it is, a
Ooh.
switcheroo. Always a huge impactful card when it gets played out.
What do they switch, though?
I would only imagine the lowest card, right? Either the Traveling Merchant or the Nocturne. Switch the 2 for the 9. I don't know too many plays that punish that. I mean, a not so fast quite literally counters a switcheroo. It does choose your friendly unit. If they have a not so fast in that 11 card hand, that has to be reasonable to play out here.
Yeah, I would completely agree, and that would be kind of backbreaking against the Sivir.
Yeah,
But they still have punch first power up.
They definitely do. This is why
we
we're
say
seeing...
they're at 7 versus 9.
I mean, if they have a not so fast, it seems rather straightforward, unless I'm completely missing something that not so fast, or the other way around. Switcheroo is not so fastable, but Switcheroo does resolve, or the ride, the win. Okay, so you didn't conquer. You're just going to go back to safety on the other side of the battlefield. You do ready, so you get +1 draw, and then you recall it back to base. That's going to be +2 draws. These guys are looking to deck out / burnout in this game number 3. It looks like they have 25 seconds, so I'll prepare the message to let these guys know that they're in overtime.
Yep, with Irelia sitting at 5 and the Sivir sitting at 2.
So it looks like Sivir will be active players. So turn 0 for the Sivir as it stands. So just 3 more remaining turns following this one. We were wondering, can these players close it out in that 3-turn overtime? Irelia is ahead by 2 points. So as it stands, she will be the victor, the winner in this round 3. But if Sivir could kind of close the margin, especially with hits like this, the Nocturne setting up the battlefield game plan for the remaining of this game, that would be pretty advantageous if you were ahead. But the simple fact that you're behind on points, it doesn't work the best. I mean, Irelia could just hold for the remaining of the game and still feel okay, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, they have to win by 2 points. So, I mean, unless Sivir can...
I love this, Ned. We finally get a little peek at the entirety of the hand. The sabotage
Jeez.
gets played out. And wow, Irelia running 2 fervents. That's what I like too. I feel like one's not enough sometimes. I like running 2. The Draven Audacious, another Boots, a Ride the Wind, Defiant Dance. What don't you have in that hand?
I don't know how they're going to survive losing, a card.
Right. I don't know what in the world they're going to be able to do this next turn. All in all, though, Sivir is putting up quite the numbers on both of these battlefields. So Rasa adding up to 10 plus 2 is the 12 on the right. And then I believe, what is that? That's 12 and 12. So splitting differences quite down the middle for both battlefields. If there's a world, I think it's time for Irelia Fervent to come out to play. But to be perfectly honest, that only leaves you with a single rune. So perhaps, did Sivir just stabilize here?
I think she might have. Because... yeah. You're going to need to get her up to at least 7, 10, 12 on one side. And 12 on the other side. With 6 runes. I mean, it's possible, and if any deck is going to do it, it's going to be this deck.
Yeah, it would feel a whole lot more manageable if that Stellar Corn Herder was a Fervent, of course. Each and every buff, it would be +3 on the Fervent, but with Stellar Corn only getting +2, this could be quite problematic, because we saw there was a decent amount of combat tricks. The Defiant Dance did get pitched because of Sabotage, so I believe there was an On Guard. There was a Discipline. But I honestly don't remember too much more than that. There was a Ride the Wind. There's a couple good units. The Zonya's Hourglass. Oh my goodness. Is Sivir about to stabilize and hold at least one of these battlefields? Perhaps even both of these battlefields. I think this is the best bet Irelia can do. Since you can't conquer both, you try to set up a lot of units. and then set up for the Fervent push the next turn when you have a bit more runes on top of the Fervent to invest in a bit of more might increases on your push. I
Was
like
Irelia
this.
turn 1 or turn 2?
Are you saying was she on the first turn or second turn this game?
No, I mean like in rounds, because
Oh,
time
she's
when
turn
rounds are
1. She's
called.
turn 1. Active
She's
player
turn
was
1.
Sivir, so she's still turn 1.
So if they can't take anything, Sivir goes to 5.
It
And
might
then
be a
Irelia would
tie.
have to take both battlefields for this not to be a tie.
And honestly, these guys might be the last remaining players still remaining. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple people in overtime, but these guys looking to go into the entire 3 last turns. And Irelia thinking carefully, as she's only going to have another turn after this, because 1, 2, and then 3 will be her very last one. So this is the second to last play she can make. So trying to set up for a final push. But granted, you're most likely, since you can't conquer with 2 remaining runes both battlefields, you could only go up to 7. So you can't even win out the game. And if Sivir just goes up to 6, actually, she gets to 5, as you mentioned before. Irelia, at the best, she goes up to 7. And then all you need to do is conquer 1 battlefield, and that's a tie. But perhaps she doesn't want to play for a tie. But I think it will be a tie because there's just not enough turns to get up to 8 for both of these players.
Right. Yeah. I think Sivir is playing for a tie, and Irelia is still hoping to win, but that's gonna be a rough win.
Yeah, big heavy.
Not saying it's impossible, but
I mean, she's trying to do the math. Taking that Stellar Corn Herder up to 12 might is a big ass, as you mentioned before, especially when we take into account there's only a single, or I should say 2 single runes available. Stellar Corn picks up another card, but an on guard, or at least one more Defiant Dance might be the way to do it. But Stellar Corn just bringing down the numbers on Zon Warrens, trying to enable that push up to 7 the following turn. The Guardian Angel actually is going to be the Hourglass getting procced, so goes up to 5 off the hold. We said it is Sivir on the cuffs of stabilizing, and that she is. The second Sabotage getting played out. Let's take a look. What else can you remove? I'm taking as many combat tricks away. Perhaps the Ride the Wind could be the best hit, though.
I was going to say the On Guard, a cheap +2 spell, a stack deck.
Oh, the third Nocturne hit off the top. Last game, he drew into all of them. It looks like this game getting quite lucky and summoning all of them off the top of the deck. That is exactly what brought him back into this game and exactly what he needs to keep progressing forward in this final turn. Actually, you might get one more. This is turn 2, right? Oh, this is his last turn.
Yeah, it's his last turn, which is why I think all he's going to do is try and shore up both battlefields and ensure that Irelia can't take either one, and then just force a tie.
Oh, the Fizz coming down. That's going to be a third Sabotage play this game, so just take as many combat tricks as you can. Most likely going to be taking down the Discipline. I don't blame him taking the Ride the Wind, though, so that you're a bit more efficient to push in the Fervent. But looking at the might totals on both of these battlefields, I don't think Irelia can get up to 7, which is actually the point she needs to win this game.
Then gonna hide something at both.
All right, here we go. The final turn of this round number 3. Can Irelia mount the impressive win here? You need exactly 2 points according to the new tournament rules. You need to be at 7 to be crowned the winner of this game. Is there a world? You have 10 cards in hand, but we already took a bit of a peek. There was 2 disciplines. And were those the only combat tricks we saw, Ned?
Yes.
Because I think it was a
'cause
fervent, 2 audacious. He took the ride the wind out. He took the on guard out. I don't think there's a world where you take both of these battlefields. At the very best, if you throw everything in the kitchen sink at one of these battlefields, you could conquer up to 6. But how are you getting... I mean, there's a Boots of Swiftness on the board. So first things first, pump up your unit. The discipline does get played out.
I'm not sure what they can do here. Pump. Try.
You know, there could with the gardening, you could send in your unit more than once. As long as you conquer, you could ready up your Irelia Legend ability as well to try to get online for the gank. But brings down the Nocturne and brings down the Ezreal. So the Guardian Angel proc. So I think you're gonna go for a discipline again. Bring it up to 9 total might. Or let's see, she's at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you use your Irelia Legend ability to go up to send it in again. Okay, saving the discipline for the gank, I believe. So Guardian Angel attaches it to... Okay, these are some plays coming out. If Irelia finds the plays, I'm going to be thoroughly impressed.
I will be thoroughly impressed right there with you.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. So Stellar Corn swinging in for 8. You know, a fight or flight could end this whole game plan right here. And that is indeed a fight or flight. Sending her back. You can draw as many cards you want. You only have 3 runes available on your very last turn. But the Defy doing what it needs to get done. We knew there was a Defiant hand, but I think that was the only one. If there's another fight or flight on Obelisk of Power, all this work she's been doing could be amounting to nothing. Oh no. We'll see though.
So they can pay 1 to ready the Irelia Legend.
Actually, they can't ready it because they didn't pay on the Conquer there. They had to pay 1 for the Conquer to ready a legend, to ready the legend.
Right, didn't they just conquer it?
Oh, they're doing it now? No, that's GG, Ned.
Yeah.
There's no world with 1 energy. There is just no world.
Well, and they have to, as someone's pointing out in chat, they have to get through a lot of might.